So we're going to do about a 45, 55-minute webinar. We'll keep it under an hour for you all. We want to welcome you to our first demo-based webinar. So we're changing the format a bit. We'll be showing you how you can use the tool to really understand pressing questions around consumer need states, around ingredient trends, and so on. We're focused on vitamins, minerals, and supplement opportunities in 2023, 2024, as we go into today. As most of you know, Simporta automates new product research. We use AI to analyze, large amounts of data, but unlike most tools, we're not trying to, give you all the data that's out there, but we make actionable metrics, make it so there's less data overload and more decisions that are able to be backed by data. And so today we'll be going over vitamins, minerals, and supplements. We have an easy 4-point agenda. At the beginning, we'll just do a 2 to 3 minute intro about Simporta, what we do, how we do it. It won't be too long, but it'll give you a little bit of information for some background. Then we'll cover 3 different topics related to vitamins, minerals, and supplements. The first topic is going to be anti-aging. So what it means and what white space opportunities exist for vitamins, minerals, and supplement brands, so that if you're trying to understand where you should innovate, what areas to focus further research or testing on, we'll give you the answers using our tool. The second topic we'll go into is personalization. It's a huge trend in the last few years, but what does it mean and when is personalization relevant to consumers in vitamins, minerals, and supplements? And then in the end, we'll go through brain health. A big area we might focus on, if we have time, will be sleep. How and what defines brain health around sleep? What ingredients do consumers actively search for? And is the category dominated by melatonin? Or we'll also cover broader claims around brain health. Do consumers want, these big picture things? I want to improve my wellness around my brain, or do they want very specific cognitive benefits like improving memory? So we'll jump into section 1. I promise it'll be 2-3 minutes, something like this. A little bit about Simporta. So Simporta automates new product research. We cross-analyze all of these different data sources. So while you might have a tool that tells you what's going on social media, you might have another tool that tell you about search and another about e-com. What we do is we look at the patterns across these different data sources, and we look at how attributes are coming up in consumer conversations, in consumer searches, as well as in product descriptions. And what we're able to do is make cross-analysis and predict different metrics that help you determine what attributes to really investing in your future R&D efforts, in your future new product innovation, and so on. And so we'll tell you, not how many tweets were out there or how many searches were about ashwagandha, but what is the prediction of demand around an attribute? How much competition is there predicted to be based on how often an attribute comes up in a product description over time? And how much passion? Is this something that'll move the needle? It'll actually motivate purchase? Or is it more of a back burner issue or something that's nice to have, but it's not really going to get a consumer to then purchase the product just because you included that attribute? Now, we define attributes as 3 different groups: need states, which, they can be anything like benefits, or they can be actual consumer needs. We look at ingredients, so things like melatonin or ashwagandha, as I had provided those examples earlier. And then we also look at sensory attributes, which can be forms, tastes, textures, and so on, to help you really understand, if you're creating a new product, what attributes should you put behind that product to increase your chance of new product success. So now we'll go to section 2. This is where we start to get into the meat of our webinar. Anti-aging, it's a huge topic, Tim. The first and major question we have around it: how specific should products be in the category? What is anti-aging? When someone is building a new anti-aging product and when they're really focusing on this, is it these broader claims like, I want to look younger, I want to live longer, or are they more specific?
Well, anti-aging is a really good visual here because your screen shows my name. And so all I have to do is look at your screen and I say, okay, there's anti-aging right there. But for people who probably want to get into this a little bit more finely, let me get into our app here and share my desktop. I think it's really valuable to just kind of understand what are the attributes that are going to really matter where are we headed with these things? Let me close up Zoom. So for those of you who've seen our dashboard before, don't be alarmed by the number of dots on this chart. It's just for a quick explanation. But as Dylan mentioned, we look at both what people are writing in social media, what they're writing in e-commerce reviews, and search. And instead of showing you all that stuff separately, we combine it into an aggregate number. And we put on an axis of 0 to 100 as an index. So we can really focus on things that are changing over time, that are becoming more important, and not just, hey, vitamin C is important. We want to understand the change over time and where it's predicted to head in the future. So everything on this axis over here is related to consumer demand. And then it's really important to understand how much competition is involved with a particular attribute. So the x-axis is looking at how much competition is describing that attribute and what they're listing on e-commerce. So if they write in a product description or it's on the back of the label, anything like that. Now, this is a little overwhelming, but we want to get right into anti-aging. So I'm actually going to go to a table format, same data I'm showing here, but broken down into those ingredients, sensory experience, and need states. So let's just start with need states, for example, and we can go search the attributes and just look at aging. So if I put that in here and not spell it wrong, I want to see what are some of the things associated with anti-aging that are important for people, and get at that question of, well, what are we actually talking about? One of the top trending areas here is what we call premature aging. So what people are talking about, they're like, I don't want to age prematurely. I'm not trying to take a vitamin to premature age. I'm trying to deal with that. And we think about people coming out of kind of the COVID lockdown experiences, and a lot of people have had fairly unhealthy lifestyles in the last 2 years. It kind of makes sense that premature aging is trending right now. So we have lots of data that goes into this, but we sum it all up in a total score, and that's taking into account that consumer trend as well as that competitor trend, and then the sentiment analysis. And what we do with sentiment analysis is examine how passionate people are about a solution, how passionate they are about solving that need. So you can have high negative sentiment, still very passionate, it's an unmet need. So when we combine the passion with the demand, the consumer's frequency of talking about this topic, and the competition, which here premature aging in VMS is relatively low, we can see that's a really important area. So let's take a little closer look at that and see what's related to it. So it's a growth area for it. And here are some ingredients that are related to that need state. So these are driven by consumers mostly, because if you look over here, the competition's relatively flat. So this is really consumers that are talking about some of these things. So lipoic acid is an example, fish collagen. See if there's anything else here that's kind of unusual. Piperine. And ginseng. So those are four, in the case of ginseng, it's an adaptogen. Piperine is a black pepper extract or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. Lipoic acid and fish collagen. So what's going on there? Like why are those popping, and who's really getting behind those trends in terms of consumers and the makers? So all of them, our little spaghetti chart shows that their interest in them is fairly consistent between all of them. They're right in that middle of the pack on anti-aging specifically. But we want to look at that a little bit more closely and say, well, what products are driving that? Is this something that is people are looking for across a bunch of different brands? So when I look at lipoic acid, I can see there's an awful lot of brands, and some of the people at the seminar have put this out, or it's in some of your formulations, not necessarily a standalone. If I look at piperine or black pepper extracts, that's in a lot of products across the industry, and ginseng, I think, is. But what's interesting, ginseng's, there's different versions of it, so we're going to see it a lot. But when I go look at fish collagen, that's actually not covered by an awful lot of brands yet. And if you have launched it, we should have picked it up. Maybe it's just called collagen. But fish collagen is kind of interesting because we have a big departure here compared to the dynamics compared to these other ones. Fairly open opportunity, but it still has a really high demand by consumers. So I would spend a little bit of time looking at fish collagen to see how that supports anti-aging and what that means for consumers. Now I'm going to switch around. That was kind of look at the ingredient standpoint. Let's switch around and look at the sensory aspects of it. Let's not, because there's just tapioca sugar. Let me get out of anti-aging and go back to show that. And let me get back into the sensory side of it. Aging. And let's look at just the sensory pieces of aging. That's frozen up a little bit. Sorry, sometimes my Wi-Fi doesn't keep up with my application. Oh, we definitely have a Wi-Fi issue. We should run one of those tables that says temporary standby. Put one of those disclaimers up. Okay, looks like we're back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. So this is live. So we have to deal with, the Wi-Fi that we have. So I was going back about sensory needs around aging. So if we look at the table of things in VMS that are around sensory, we're going to see a lot of gummies going into aging. And, just a few years ago, we thought about aging or gummies in terms of kids stuff. And they have really emerged and become much more important across a more general audience. So as we start looking at aging, we're going to see gummies come up pretty frequently. Orange flavor, well, that may not be, but multivitamin chewable gummies, pink gummies, extra yummy gummies, gel form. We had to get kind of far down the line to see liquid drops come up in aging. So I think that's kind of weird, but I like gummies. I've kind of switched over to that in the last few years for myself. But we're going to see, even hair growth gummies, we're seeing that. Not anti-aging, really. Those are two distinct segments, but the people who care about anti-aging, most likely, at least a lot of the males care about hair growth. So we're seeing that format cross over in the sensory side, whereas, that might not have been the case 5 years ago for working on anti-aging. If we get into the need states and we want to compare aging, like what's driving that? So we have premature aging, we have accelerated aging. Those are two different sides of the same coin. So premature is sort of an overall basis of, right now I feel like I'm older than I am, if I have my fitness considered with my overall health scores. And accelerated aging is more in the moment. It's more the process of that. And aging as women comes up frequently. So in our tool, we can kind of identify those pockets that kind of get down one level to understand who's tackling these issues, but then is it like a future state that they're worried about, or is it the current state that they're concerned about? How I feel today versus I want to protect myself for the future. And that's really important because you think about positioning. Are you talking about treatment? Like the most of the memory products out there are about treatment, or are you thinking about more holistically prevention? And that's going to be really important to anti-aging. So I don't want to spend too much time on that topic, but if we can switch back, Dylan, you can tell us what the next area of inquiry is. Do you want to take over the screen, by the way?
Yeah, while you sort of stop sharing screen, if I sort of get what you said there in terms of ingredient trends, the main one to sort of look deeper into would be fish collagen, right? Among those four you had dove into. For sensory attributes, gummy vitamins seems to be something that's trending upward recently. And in terms of what anti-aging opportunities exist, how sort of detailed you get, am I right? You were saying to look at, are you being proactive or reactive as your starting point, and then dive deeper into the need states based on that?
Yeah, anytime you're in VMS particularly, but really any place where we're working on, sort of food is health or anything like that, the two need states that you need to think about are, am I treating something today, like memory loss? And is that something that I'm not necessarily in a clinical fashion, but I'm trying to take a vitamin to deal with memory loss? Or is it a little bit more in the future? I don't want to have memory loss down the road. I don't want to have problems with joint health or anything like that. And so therefore, I'm holistically working on my health for a future state. So am I treating a problem, or is it more holistic to have more general wellness, but still within that area of anti-aging? Okay. And by the way, I went through that on the cognitive side, but we didn't even talk about collagen and joint health and all the other things associated with aging. I'm not sure if that was your follow-up question.
Yeah, I think we get the personalization section to move on if we have more time, or maybe if people who are watching you want to know more information around, let's call it the other side, just let us know. You can sort of reply or send an email to mary@simporter.com, and we'll get that information over to you. To go to though the next section, personalization, because I think we've got a couple interesting questions around that. First one, personalization, it's really grown the last couple of years, maybe even 3 or 4 years out. It's really, really rapid growth. But does it work in vitamins? And how does it work in vitamins? What, if you're trying to sort of address the overall broad theme, consumers want more personalized vitamins. How does that A, conflict with things like easy to use or easy to find, right? But B, I think more importantly, what does it mean to personalize a vitamin, and how does that address consumer needs?
Well, there's several companies out there that are doing this very well. And there's two different angles to look at personalization. So let me get back into our data. So on the one hand, it is, I want to be able to do a formulation that I customize and put together myself. So maybe I have some joint health issues. Maybe I want to have some immunity boosting, but I don't want to take 16 different gummies or 16 different vitamins. So on one standpoint, it's going to be about, I was hosted, let me just share screen. So from one standpoint, it's going to be about how am I going to do that? The second aspect of it is with customization, personalization is format. Do I want to have one thing I take in the morning kind of hand to mouth, or do I want to have the ability to have a different thing? So for example, if I care about protein and iron and something else, maybe some of those are vitamins that I have in the morning, but some of those might be functional beverages that I have before I work out. I might want to have my protein booster. So all of our partners and everybody participating in this space has to be thinking more holistically across categories, because some of the personalization is going to be specific VMS formats that we know and love, and others can be the consumer wanting to have that in different occasions during the day. So if we go into personalization, there's a couple of things that we want to look at right away. So one is absorption. If I can spell that right, absorption. So consumers kind of understand, and certainly some of the leading edge people understand that with absorption, they're going to see that at different times, going to respond to vitamins at different times as they go through the day. And that's where the point about different formats comes into play. So let me see if I can find that. Absorb. If that's better.
It's with a P.
Thanks. Absorb. What was the point about memory loss? I think we should go back over that a little bit more. Let me go back to my big chart. It took a while to get there. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for putting up with me. So right away, remember our chart. This is showing the consumer basis on this axis and the competitive basis on that axis. So right away, we're seeing maximum absorption is something that competitors are talking about. It doesn't mean that much to consumers. Let's look at what really matters to consumers: gradual absorption. Okay, so a lot of people understand, especially the people who are heavy users in VMS, that you can take a lot of vitamin A and maybe you're not going to retain it. It's going to your body's going to get rid of the extra. And so you're paying for stuff you don't need. So gradual absorption has become important to consumers because it's really about how that's going over how your body's absorbing that over time. So that attribute, that area of interest in consumers has been growing pretty significantly because they understand that there's just some things that your body's not going to take in fast enough, and there's others that can. Valerian root as an ingredient is an interesting one. We should keep an eye on that and what consumers think about that, and does it have attributes that are more likely to stay with you throughout the day, some of the people participating in it. And when we go in and look at this, and we don't have time to kind of go over this, but people understand, like on a sleep aid standpoint, they understand that it stays with you, and so it releases over times. And so it's got a lot of praise in the reviews. as we get into that one. And then when we think of it from a sensory standpoint, when you're talking about absorption, artificial flavors came up really high. And so as these are kind of the heavy users who really understand the body's chemistry and how it absorbs things over time, they're really concerned about artificial flavoring and artificial sugar. So as you think about some of the newer trends like fast absorption or personalization to understand your absorption patterns throughout the day, it's important to be mindful that those are kind of leading edge consumers, early adopter consumers, or heavy users, and they kind of understand some of these other issues. And so sugar and artificial colors and things like that are going to be pretty important for them, or considerations that are going to take into account. So as you look at areas of personalization, you've got to understand that some of the smartest consumers are going to be aware of things that we might be able to, get by with the mainstream consumer in terms of levels of sugars or artificial colors. So we covered a few different things in customization. The major point is, when you think about all the attributes that are available in vitamins, how do you put these together? So these dots are just the things that are trending right now in vitamins. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of stuff. And many of you on this call have done a really good job of developing them in a format where you moved away from ingredients. You've been very focused on the benefits, and you've combined different benefits. And so, you can have stress reduction and sleep aid combined, and you can have more holistic approaches to sleep aid. But it's important to kind of see, when you do that, there's still a lot of motivation around ingredients. So even though, you may have a really nice benefit statement, there's still a lot of focus on, okay, I know you're delivering all that stuff, but where's my ashwagandha? Where's my ingredient that gives me a reason to believe that compound is going to address multiple things I need as I personalize my approach. So it's important to stay kind of focused on what are the trending ingredients that are rising. So here we have chamomile flower, organic fennel seed, different things that are velvet bean extract. These are kind of up and comers in a lot of cases. And we want to really understand how they're doing one for the other. So this blue line is the fennel seed. And I was surprised, because whenever we see organic, we usually have a presupposition that that's rising in interest right now. But surprisingly, the organic fennel seed kind of approach wasn't really creating a lot of interest in people. And the chamomile flower was much more relevant as an ingredient and trending relevant. And that was kind of a big surprise for us as we got into that. When we looked at the product references, we could see an awful lot of players in the organic fennel seed area that's much more developed. Velvet bean extract had somewhat fewer, but the chamomile flower was really driving an awful lot of interest across a variety of different need states. And so when you develop these compounds to address multiple needs and allow people to kind of customize among those, it's really important to make sure you get that particular ingredient and know which ones are the ones that are trending for the long term. The other thing that's interesting when we start looking at the need states is how frequently gummies come up. But I think that, Dylan, was actually one of your topics. Is that right? Was that one of the questions you had later on?
Sorry, yeah, I think the question was more, and this is the next question, but how do, let's say, what opportunities exist inside sensory attributes for VMS? So are there a lot of crossovers we're seeing from other categories, like in functional beverage, we see shots or powders starting to trend, or is it more traditional vitamin forms that are trending up now? What in terms of sensory attributes, what opportunities exist there for brands to really invest in?
Yeah, that was where I was jumping on gummy. So it's kind of a gummy world right now. So a lot of the interest is gummy. We thought we might see more growth in shots and functional beverages and in mixes, powders that you can mix in with your shakes and stuff like that. That stuff's pretty stable, but the gummy approach, and even of course, one of the great companies out there is doing gummy bear versions of gummies, but that is really kind of where a lot of the action is right now. And it's surprising because it covers a lot of different categories and need states. And so we're seeing gummies pop up in hair growth. I think we saw that before. We've seen gummies for women. We've seen that before. There's one aspect where the protein shake kind of crept into VMS discussions. So it's vitamins or supplements that are used in the protein shake. But generally, we're seeing a lot of interest in the gummy area. and that's where there's a lot of activity. The product references, I mean, can't do supplements. I like that one. But you have a lot of different supplements that are, of course, my favorite, that are tackling that from hair growth standpoint, women's gummies, an awful lot of product getting in that space. And the one that I was really interested in was with iron. If I can find that one, that was actually a concern because you think about gummy. Let me find that's an ingredient. You think about gummy. One of the issues is there's iron gummy growing pretty rapidly. One of the issues with gummies is they're delicious and they're concerning because kids, little kids, only need about 40 milligrams of iron in a supplement is the maximum dosage a kid can have. And a typical gummy has about 8 to 10 of them. And so as you have candy flavored gummies that little children can ingest, it wouldn't take much for a little kid to have 4 or 5 gummies at one time if she or he gets her hands on the bottle. So it's important for makers to think about that potential toxicity. Now, iron poisoning used to be a problem in this country, and it's really a thing of the past. But with gummies becoming important, and you're seeing gummies for iron supplements trending, we have to be thoughtful. Maybe we need to be, that's iron gummies itself. Maybe we need to be putting safety labels on those vitamins, safety caps or something like that to make sure that that doesn't become a problem again with, the toxicity of iron. Again, I think 4 or maybe 5 gummies is enough to be toxic to a small child. So that's a really important, but the bigger point there is when it comes to form factors, the sort of shakes, the shots, the stuff that get quite a bit of attention in our industry haven't really gotten as deep within VMS as we would have expected. I think you walk down the aisle of the store and functional beverages are in the functional beverage aisle. Huge. I mean, that's growing really rapidly. But within VMS, consumers kind of have some differences that they see in that form. And within VMS, the form that's continuing to grow most rapidly is going to be gummies. Next question. That's back to you, Dylan, but you're on mute.
Yep, that was clear. Thanks, Tim. The last section we have here, and Tim, if you could just let me share my screen for a moment, I'll give it back right in a second. The last section we have here is brain health and sleep as a subsegment of brain health, because some people view it differently. We wanted to sort of discuss it in the same focus here. So I think there's one or two questions. The first one is, should brands focus on a specific direct health claim around, cognitive health or brain health, or more wellness type claims? So this is very similar to what we talked about with anti-aging. How direct do brands get around the functional benefits of the VMS products? When you're innovating, do you want to get really, really specific, really narrow? Do you want to be a little bit broader? Or do you just want to focus on, we help your brain stay healthy, we help with wellness claims, and so?
Yeah, I mean, probably all of the above, and it depends on each brand and where they're trying to drive distinctiveness. So in the industry, people have done a really remarkable job of developing products to tackle cognition at different life stages. The Prevagens of the world have done a wonderful job of carving out a kind of premium niche space. Ollie's been really strong in that area. But what I encourage people to do is think through it, not just in terms of the aging population, and they are, many companies are doing this, but in terms of everyday. And a lot of times we think in terms of an axis of health of, over our lifespan. So, we're dealing with some of the anti-aging cognition stuff, the Prevagens, the memory aids and things like that. We tend to be thinking about, as we're getting into our years, towards retirement age and thereafter. And so we think longitudinally about years, but a lot of our consumers think about cognition throughout the day. We can all relate to that, being kind of tired and your brain not really functioning as well, late afternoon, early evening, being frustrated, being stressed out towards the end of the day. And, everything about COVID, of course, the theme is, the stress levels of being locked up with small children all day is really, really high. So, do you need anti-stress as you age through your lifespan, or do you need it as you age through your day, or different occasions? Do I need a different supplement for weekends than I do for weekdays? Those are all really interesting questions to tackle. Let's take a look at some of the data here, if I can share my screen again, and get into some of the places we have in aging. So let's go back. Hopefully the internet will be quicker. Get into our app. So again, it's about cognition, about memory, about anti-stress, these whole areas. Where are you finding a distinctive lane? What can you do to there's a lot of product chasing a lot of problems. So how do you do one that's going to be, relatively unique, but still a large enough consumer lane to attract people? So now I'm just looking at stress here on our table. Again, this consumer demand over here. This one I like a lot, stress defense nutrients. So remember, we were talking before, am I treating a problem, or am I preventing a problem from starting, or is it more holistic? So this topic of stress defense is interesting with consumers. What does it mean exactly? I don't exactly know, but that's where we saw ashwagandha and fenugreek, and I don't know what that one is, and curcuma. These are, for most of you, these are familiar different things, ginseng, different versions of ginseng and grapeseed extract. So we're seeing a lot of adaptogens coming out of that homeopathic area, or that long time health area. But it's really interesting to see how these compare one to another. Let's just put 4 of them on and do a quick deep dive. And we can see, actually fairly steady among them, ashwagandha being the leader still. And I guess if we'd done this a month ago, we would have seen this withania kind of growing in comparison, but it seems like it retreated to a normal thing. A lot of attention in across all the reviews for all these products. So as you get into, these are just some reviews we pulled out. Some of these are pretty old. But if you get into these, you can see that the consumer attention on some of these are quite high. We can't scroll through all these, but you can just, on your own time, you don't have to use our tool for this. You just go on Amazon and search curcuma longa. And you can just see breadth of consumer knowledge and understanding about that, and expectations of what it can do, which sometimes are greater than what it really does. A lot of these adaptogens can be sort of, Swiss Army knife approaches of have a lot of positive benefits for you. But the point here is there's an awful lot of activity going on in this space, and it is, again, because it's defense, it's preventative rather than treatment. And so that's an angle that might be a little distinctive for some people, preventing stress from happening to begin with. Let's go back to that first screen and look at some other ways to approach cognition. So let's just put in memory. Sorry for the Wi-Fi. Let's get to memory. We go look at that, we can see memory has different aspects for consumers. Maintaining memory, that could be treatment and that could be prevention. That's kind of a hard one. Supporting memory, though. So support is our word for, okay, it's not treatment, it's not a problem yet, I just want to be better at it. And so that's an aspect that's slightly different, slightly more nuanced. So we've got memory recall. And what are some of the things to improve recall? So that, you can imagine, recall is a little bit more of a treatment term. And reishi mushroom, I know, is interesting to a lot of people. That's kind of come in. I don't actually know what tatrazine is, so I'm going to grab that one. Folic acid, of course, we all know that. And apopectin, not sure. Let's take a look. Okay, we can see that apopectin, maybe not a thing to chase. Reishi mushroom, though, is the strongest of those. I would have said folic acid. But reishi mushroom has a little bit more attention right now with consumers than folic acid or apopectin or whatever tetrazine is. I'm sorry, I don't know that one particularly. But that's pretty interesting. And again, that aspect was really among the related attributes for recall, for a treatment approach. But let's go back. to that prior screen and look at more of a prevention or a holistic approach to, sorry, I gotta put that in again, and see how those ingredients might change a little bit when we have a different kind of general positioning area, memory. Okay, here we go. Maintaining, supporting, enhanced. So enhanced is beyond treatment or maintenance. It means trying to get it better. This isn't as important as a trend. So most of the stuff, biotin, okay, zinc, valerian again, another wonder drug, psyllium, okay, works on 2 different levels, and shiitake, different mushroom. We had reishi, shiitake, and that's good enough. Take a look at what's going on there. Those are all pretty flat, pretty even with each other. I find it surprising the psyllium's in there, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And our products in here in oat straw. So we have a few in oat straw. Biotin, we have lots. Yeah, many of you are in biotin right now. Valerian, not so much. And psyllium, I don't know why psyllium is even in there, but there's something about psyllium I don't know about, and it is 2000, been in use for 2000 plus years. So, okay, so there's some interesting stuff there. So as we think about, well, where do we want to play in this space? Are we going to be doing memory support treatment? Are we going to be doing, we go back, are we going to be enhancing memory as we, or are we going to be supporting memory as we age, kind of holistic prevention, you know? So treating it, are we going to be preventing it? Or are we going to be enhancing it? So better than ever. I think that's really interesting. What was this one? Support, maintain, treat, recalls, treat, enhancing memory. This one I probably should use. I should probably enhance my memory. Let's check some of the sensory stuff on that. Women gummies show up, chewable gummies, delicious flavors. So that's an interesting area. We show that not growing right now, but it's important to just use that as an example to think through the use cases for any one of these things with anti-aging or with cognition. Is it really about a holistic approach, treatment approach, or even the enhancement side? So I will stop there. Dylan, are there more questions?
Yeah, so for the memory though, it sounds like it's less focused on enhancing for opportunities that exist and more on the support side, as well as let's say the maintenance side. Is that right?
I forgot. So right now we weren't in our tool, we weren't seeing a lot in the enhancement side. And so we want to peel that onion back a little bit. Did anybody try that space and abandon it? That would sometimes drive our numbers down. Because remember, for those of you out there, our tool is looking at the change year over year. So if someone launched a campaign or very specifically a positioning about enhanced memory, and then that changed or that was discontinued, that will show the consumer interest going down because the frequency of those conversations goes down. But that doesn't mean that enhancement is out, because we do see that in a lot of other categories where we're trying to get better, and particularly in cognition, we're trying to get better than we ever were, not just prevent decline, but to actually improve where we are today. But right now, it would show you that your better areas to play would be support and dealing with that. And my prior point still stands, which is in our tool we can kind of get to the nuances of, is this about our long-term health, or is this really about cognition as we go throughout the day, which is a big opportunity, or throughout our week?
Yeah, I think I had seen for the enhancement piece, the recall one, that it was really high competition. So maybe that's a reason the overall score was a bit lower, was it's a more competitive space. So it's less of a white space opportunity, somewhere where you could innovate within, you could get some initial traction, but it's just going to be harder in the long run.
Was that recall? Were you referring to recall or the enhancement one?
Enhancement, my mistake.
Enhancement.
My mistake.
Yeah. Recall is more about I need to improve my recall. That's kind of like I have a problem. I don't recall. So that is like the latest stage of I'll call it treatment, even though we're still in the supplement space. Whereas enhancement is I want to get better than ever. And then support is kind of over time, I want to make sure I don't have any problems. So they kind of operate at 3 different planes.
Makes sense. Tim, do you mind diving into the sleep ingredients? I think it's, one of the interesting questions that we hear a lot is, are there new opportunities around innovating with new ingredients for sleep, or is the category kind of dominated by melatonin-based, melatonin-based VMS? So if you look, those are need states. Are there any ingredients that are starting to trend upward besides melatonin to help with sleep?
Right off the top, chamomile flower, which, of course, we know from the tea industry, chamomile is really important. So that one came up pretty high in sleep. Hey, Jonathan, I don't think these are sleep just yet. Let me just run that through the sleep mode again. I don't think that's a sleep. I don't think that's a sleep issue per se. Let me just pull that up as a need state.
Which one is that?
Whatever that last attribute was picked up. I don't think I'm picking up sleep though. The target thing. Let me just get back in here and get sleep. Make sure. I'm not sure if I was picking that up in the filter. Sleep. Okay, fall asleep naturally. So when we look at some of the ingredients related to that, melatonin, okay, naturally with melatonin, valerian root, theanine, xylitol for sleep. I don't know about that. I guess that's to reduce caffeine intake or something like that. So these are all related to it, like BPA free is not necessarily going to enhance your sleep, but people care about these when we look at sleep. But melatonin is still the dominant one. We're still seeing the most activity there. Valerian root, kind of a wonder thing. And let's see, there's one other. I don't know about that magnesium, taurate, and sodium. Let's look at this. Let's look at those together. See if those are going. There's our big melatonin spike. So yeah, this data is actually going back to COVID era. So I mean, the last year COVID. So we're seeing plenty of sleeplessness as we go through that era. But yeah, so there's a few things that might be coming up like valerian root, but melatonin is still the dominant player in this space, as I'm sure everybody knows. In terms of the product, everybody's on melatonin. And, that's probably, A through Z, got it covered. Valerian root, not that many people on that. And let me just see valerian root, if that is something consumers are talking about. Let me get back out of my deep dive. And look at that valerian root again. Let's turn these off. Just go to newsfeed. Valerian root. Yeah, we're using for sleeping. Okay, I guess I should have known that. Sleep aid, mood disorder, and sleep together. Okay, good. Sleep aid. Okay, so I would say without any preparation that melatonin is followed closely by valerian root, but valerian root isn't quite as it's not as dominant, but that's an up and comer. So if you're trying to find an angle, since everybody's on melatonin, it could be valerian. That could be something really interesting to get into. I think when we look at sensory on this, it's going to all be gummy, liquid vitamins, delicious flavors, nothing particularly unusual there. And then let's see if we can find one other interesting angle on an ingredient for sleep. Let's just look at sodium citrate. Okay, I don't know why that does anything for sleep, but I'm not a chemist, so I'm a clinician. So see if people are talking about that. But newsfeed. No more sugary drinks. Yeah, this is more about nephrologists. Yeah, I'm not seeing this as a sleep aid. This is just an ingredient within the supplements, I think. So I'm going to stick by the prior statement, which is melatonin is going to be dominant, but valerian root is worth looking at. Oh, theanine. I know we looked at that before as well. We'll just double check that one. Go to the news feed on theanine and see if we're talking about sleep here. Anti-stress. Well, kind of like I guess some people talking about as an amino. Well, theanine, stress. Okay, stress, sleep, closely related. I would still be saying if we're talking about sleep aids, melatonin, valerian root is number 2. There may be some other ones that I just haven't pulled up yet. And then as we talk about stress, theanine closely associated with sleep because stress gets in the way of our sleep.
Yeah, valerian root has come up in a few different questions.
Yeah.
So we got a few more minutes. I think we could end a little bit early, but Tim, do you want to show, for example, creating an example of a concept? You know, just a 2-minute concept, nothing too detailed, but you could show everyone how the concept creator works and how you can instantly score a concept so that you can pick the best concepts to further research.
Okay, we'll get into a little product propaganda, but just for a moment. So we'll make life simpler because we're going to combine valerian root, melatonin, and theanine into a product. We got to do that. And then let's pick up some sensory aspects. We'll make it a gummy. All right, we're going to make it a liquid vitamin because that's showing up. So if I go into my concept creator, space, I want to pick up something else sensory. Let me get back here, back to my bigger page.
Maybe a need state.
Yeah, I'll pick up a need state, sleep. I'm going to put in absorption. Let's just figure out we did that. Let's pretend we figured that one out. And then sleep. Back to out of category. Back in the supplements. Sleep. All right, we got some here. So quality sleep, sleep disturbances, fall asleep naturally, occasional sleep. Oh, let's go with occasional sleeplessness. So I'll put that in there. So it is. Okay, it's a flat trend. But anyways, we pick up a few things. Oh, I want to pick up chamomile flower, melatonin again. I think that's already in there. And some neem leaf extracts. We have no idea what that is. So I'm going to go build a concept about these. And it's not really a concept, of course. It's really the basis of a concept. So come out here, create my concept. And I'm going to call this a sleep aid. And I'm going to create a title, great title for sleep aid. This is blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to pick up chamomile flower because I like that. I'm going to pick up melatonin and valerian. And if I go in here and I start ranking these things, I'm going to say chamomile flower. I'm going to say that's just sort of important. I'm going to lead with melatonin and I'm going to lead with valerian root. So I've got like this double hit. So I just created a score based on, all of our data looking at the consumer angle and the competitor angle. How interesting is this to consumers? How distinctive is it from competitors? On a 0 to 100 basis, it's a 66, which is not passing grade, I don't think. So, or maybe it is on the curve, but I think we need to add something to this. So we want to pep this up a little bit. Let's focus on a need state because we put stuff in here. We'll go to that occasional sleeplessness thing and let's make that. Where is it now? Let's make that. Let's make that important. We got 66. That's my same grade before. So let's go put a sensory thing into this to see if we can't get that score up higher. We'll make it a liquid. I think that'll ruin it if we make it a liquid. Let's see. Yeah, it took it down. Way down. Okay, we're not gonna make it a liquid. That's a terrible idea. But let's just go back to our need states. We only did sleeplessness, right? So, or occasional sleeplessness. So that's not floating it as much as we need to. So we're gonna go to, oh, we didn't hit it, that's why. Okay, let's get back to sleeplessness, put that in there. Where is it? Occasional sleeplessness. Now we got, where is that? Chamomile, valerian. Now let's make that extremely important. 64. So something's got to go out. Let's see, with that 68. Okay, chamomile. Well, how about that? Chamomile drove it higher. Okay, I was wrong. So it's not about melatonin, valerian, it's about chamomile. Now we figured it out. I got my score up to 69. With this tool, I'm the worst at it. Just to be clear, most of the products I've launched in my career failed. So whatever I do opposite. The point of this tool, though, is like a single source of truth. And as you build these building blocks of an idea, so we went into this thing live thinking, okay, melatonin and valerian, but this chamomile flower, which you may remember a few minutes ago, I was saying was kind of trending high in supplements in sleep area, was more important. So when I ranked that, this tool weights these things. And so I ranked that extremely important. And I took melatonin down in importance, valerian down in importance, made the sleeplessness thing very important. And it created a high score. If I make sleeplessness less important, because it's weighting my chamomile flower even higher, because it doesn't just do sleep support, it's Miracle does other stuff. Now I got my score up to 73. The point of this is that's not a concept. This is a building block where we can start saying, okay, relative to other things, if I lead with a valerian product, am I going to get a 73 or higher? Or if I lead with chamomile flower, am I going to get a higher one? And so we can go do 10 of these and start seeing, well, where are we getting the highest scores? And those are really good opportunities to then go do the next level of brainstorming that we always do. What is the positioning? What need state exactly are we going to do? Is it occasional sleeplessness? Is it occasional sleeplessness combined with more restful sleep? Like where are we trying to go there? We can kind of add and subtract these different attributes and get to a single source of truth of, this group of benefits and ingredients are going to drive higher interest and have less competition or be more distinctive than this other one. So that's the whole point of the concept builder. Not named exactly what it should be. It's more like an idea generator. But I got a 73, and I think that's a passing score, and we're going to leave that at that point.
Great. That looks like a really nice product with great sensory attribute.
I think most of the people on this call are going to say that's not, but you get the idea.
Yeah, the idea is for convenience and to save time, right? And get sort of the trend data into something you can then develop into an action, move down to the next stage of the innovation journey. So thanks, Tim, for the really detailed analysis. And thanks everyone for watching. That's been our webinar on vitamins, mineral, and supplement trends for 2023, 2024. If you have any questions, please feel free to email mary@symporter.com, M-A-R-Y, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. If not, we hope to hear from you soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.